Hey, everybody, welcome to Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Um, got another book today for you, Hammer of the Dogs by Jarret Keene. Now, you notice this is a review copy that I got. Jarret Keene is a local writer and a professor, and we've worked together on a couple things back in the day, and so he sent me this review copy. Should have been published yesterday. I'm assuming that's still the case. I'll put a link in the description for folks, assuming I can find that link. I probably can. Um, so, what is Hammer of the Dogs about? Well, this is an interesting review for me to do. Hammer of the Dogs is probably not a book I would have run out and picked up on my own. Um, it's a little more hard sci-fi in certain ways, military sci-fi in certain ways. There's a survivalist aspect because it is post-apocalyptic. Not things that I avoid in books, but I don't often go right towards those. Um, so it is. It's interesting when you're reading a book for review that you go, I don't know if I would have, if this would have come into my orbit otherwise. But it's a good book. It's a solid book, and I think that for people who are really into post-apocalyptic military hard sci-fi with some very interesting ideas, I think they're going to like this book a lot. Um, the book is centered around Lash, who is a young woman living in post apocalyptic Las Vegas, Nevada, um, in a very interesting take on a post apocalyptic world. Because maybe I shouldn't call it a post apocalyptic world, it's more of a post apocalyptic America. And through a fair amount of the book, we know that there were nuclear strikes in America that have not maybe completely shattered the country, but hurt it severely. There's still a federal government. It's trying to seize control. Um, but they're not necessarily good guys. The Russians and the Chinese are meddling. They're not good guys. Las Vegas itself has devolved um, into a place with these two warlords, so to speak. One of them is based in the Luxor. So if you've been to Las Vegas or you've seen pictures and you've seen the hotel shaped like a pyramid, that's the Luxor. The other one is based in City Center, which is another resort north of Luxor, closer to sort of the middle of City Center. That that guy's called Richter. We learn early on he's a bloodthirsty monster. Luxor is controlled by Prof, or the Prof, who is a sort of a religious zealot, um, believes in a very odd version of cybernetic Christianity. And is he a good guy? Maybe not. Lash is, she lives at the Luxor. She's one of the Prof's Academy kids. Um, but she doesn't necessarily like him. I think she trusts him somewhat, if she trusts anybody. You see, that's an interesting aspect of this because it primarily involves young people, children to young adult, who are dealing with this horrible reality that they've been thrust into. Everybody in the book, to some degree, is is damaged, is broken, is bruised, and is trying to work their way through all that. There are lots of references to the past and to the past that these kids knew. There are, most people look towards a very bleak future, if there is a future at all. So it's very interesting from that standpoint to watch, especially in terms of Lash, to watch her deal with the events that come through the book and how they shape her and how they change her until the end. There are some really interesting concepts in it. Like I said, there is a hard sci-fi tech aspect to the book. A lot of references to firearms, to drones, to computer tech that a lot of which over my head. And sometimes to me, again, because that's not my cup of tea, would be sort of, I felt a little disruptive, in terms of flowing into sentences. For hard sci-fi guys, it'd probably be awesome. They'd love it, You get a lot of references to Las Vegas in the book. In fact, there is a sort of handy-dandy map of this post-apocalyptic Vegas to help people out who don't know the city. Although, to be honest with you, I don't think you need to really know the city. You get something more out of it, seeing how the city that those of us who live here know has been changed. But if you're not a Las Vegan, and if you don't have a real good idea of where things are located, you could figure it out in the context of the book. It's not going to be a problem for you. And hey, jump online and you could look these things up and you could figure it out very quickly. I mean, dude, I'm always reading things set like in New York and LA. I don't know New York and LA. That doesn't get in the way. And it certainly doesn't get in the way in Hammer of the Dogs. There's a great twist midway through the book, which is not just a plot twist, but a character twist. And things twist again at the end. There's some whimsical stuff. There's some weird stuff. I could almost see this being like being an anime, because so much of it is visceral. It's violent. It's oftentimes gory. There are sexual situations. I will say that's one thing and this may change before published. It says, for readers of all ages, that I would not agree with. Maybe I'm an old fuddy-duddy. I wouldn't put this in front of little kids. High schoolers are probably fine. Junior high, maybe you'd need to think about it. Something parents would want to think about. But for the adult set, it's fine. It's not going to, I don't think it's going to bother you what's in it. But it's very visceral. It would probably make for a good movie, for a good anime. One thing I can say for the book for sure, I have found I tend to do a lot of my reading in bed, at night. Lay down, grab a book, read a bit, and as I start to get drowsy, put it down. This is a book where, as I was getting towards the end, it kept me awake and I kept reading because I wanted to get to the end. I don't think you can say much more for a book, especially a book that is in that action, adventure sort of genre, where you're trying to find resolution. If you hear weird scratching sound, that is my dog behind me. Toby. Hey, man. It's all genuine. It's all authentic in the den. So Hammer of the Dogs should be out there for you to find. If you dig post-apocalyptic military sci-fi, if you want to see a very interesting character, and a hard character in many ways, but with those vulnerabilities. Some good twists, some good turns, good ending, and at least for me, who doesn't read a lot of this, it was surprising, for me at the end. It kept me interested. I wanted to see how it was going to go. I recommend. Whoops, almost got that off stage. Don't want to cover up the author name here. Hammer of the Dogs, Jarret Keene. Publication date September 12, 2023. So yesterday. If you're into this kind of sci-fi, give it a shot. I think you're going to dig it. It's got some brutal stuff, absolutely brutal stuff in it. It's hardcore, man, and but it's good. The plot holds together, and I think the characterizations work, and I think you'll find an emotional connection to Lash and I think to some of the other characters as well. So that'll do it for Dad's Den of Pop Culture today. A lot of book reviews lately. There will be more. And this is a good one. Hey, if you enjoyed the video, please like, please subscribe. Please share it with your friends. In the meantime, God bless everybody. Be kind to one another. It's a rough world out there. It's not as rough as in Hammer of the Dogs, thankfully. But it's rough enough. So be kind to one another and try to have some fun out there. And I will see you next time in Dad's Den of Pop Culture.